When most people think of Narnia, they immediately imagine a snowy, forested land filled with talking animals and illuminated by a single lone lamppost. But even the casual reader will soon discover that Narnia is so much more than that. It's an entire world filled with mountains and deserts and oceans and swamps and cities and ruins and nation-states and more mountains. Narnian characters do a lot of traveling on their quests, and keeping all of these locations straight can get confusing. So today, we're going to take a broad look at the world of Narnia and understand the basic layout of its geography, national boundaries, and key locations from your favorite books. So let's get started. It's time to leave the Shadowlands behind and step into a world that's more real than our own. It's time to follow me into the wardrobe. The Land of Narnia is a place that's often misunderstood. Besides the fact that Narnia only existed as a frozen ice world for a tiny moment in its history, many people don't realize that Narnia is just one country of many that exist in an entire world. A world that's also known as Narnia. Confusing, right? Try to keep up. And Narnia is not even the only world. There are actually several other universes in an entire complex and interwoven multiverse. And every now and then, these worlds even overlap, as we'll discuss in a future episode. But for now, let's get back to the world of Narnia. We first discovered the existence of foreign countries in the first true book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which, by the way, is the only proper way to start reading about Narnia, and we'll discuss that in another future episode. In the scene that's a fan favorite, as Lucy meets Mr. Tumnus for the first time, Mr. Tumnus gives us the clues about the world surrounding Narnia. "I'm very pleased to meet you, Mr. Tumnus," says Lucy. "And may I ask, O Lucy, daughter of Eve," said Mr. Tumnus, "how you have come into Narnia?" "Narnia? What's that?" said Lucy. "This is the Land of Narnia," said the fawn. "Where we are now, all that lies between the lamppost and the great castle of Cair Paravel on the eastern sea. And you have come from the wild woods of the west?" I got in through the wardrobe in the spare room," said Lucy. "Ah," said Mr. Tumnus in a rather melancholy voice. "If only I had worked harder at geography when I was a little fawn, I should no doubt know all about those strange little countries. It is too late now." And so, as Mr. Tumnus explains, Narnia is flanked by the wildwoods to the west, which begin at the lamppost, and the great oceans to the east. And while neither Tumnus or Lucy know much more than that, we've been given a guidebook in the form of an official map of Narnia, created by Narnia's illustrator Pauline Baynes and Mr. Lewis himself. And that's important because countless maps have been created throughout the years by people trying to piece together the geography of Narnia based on what they read in the books. Many of these maps contradict each other, many are unclear, and many are open to interpretation. This amazing illustration is as much of a history of Narnia as it is a map. It's overflowing with landmarks and notes and important points of interest. And following the details of the map, we can see that it's between these borders that the majority of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe takes place. It's where you'll find many notable landmarks, including the White Witch's Palace, the Beaver Lodge, the Stone Table, the Great Marsh, and the legendary citadel of the kings and queens of Narnia, Cair Paravel. To the north, Narnia is bordered by the small land of Ettinsmoor. After leaving the marsh, Ettinsmoor was the first waypoint for Jill, Eustace, and Puddleglum as they followed Aslan's quest in the Silver Chair. On their way, they crossed the Giant's Bridge and dodged rock-throwing giants as they pressed onward into the icy wildlands of the north. The northern wildlands were the home of a more barbaric breed of northern giants. They were also the territory of the Green Witch and the location of the passage to a deep subterranean world known as the Underland. If we were to travel even farther north, assuming we could survive, we would find even greater mountains and eventually Aslan's country. The southern boundary of Narnia is marked by the Continental Divide, a broad and lush green mountain range, and nestled in the middle of this mountain region is the country of Archenland, a kingdom inhabited and ruled by the sons of Adam and the daughters of Eve. As a neighbor and ally of Narnia, the kingdom of Archenland is mentioned in many chronicles. But in one of the first references, we discover that Archenland, particularly known far and wide for its very strong wine, which must be diluted with water for even Caspian's men to drink. Even more importantly, though, Archenland is remembered as the location of the Great Battle of Anvard from The Horse and His Boy. Before arriving in Anvard to warn the king of a coming invasion, Shasta, Bree, Erebus, and Hwin had traveled from even farther south, across the Great Desert, all the way to our final destination on this tour, into the mighty southern empire of Calormen. In the beginning, we don't know much about Calormen. In the early years of the Golden Age, Narnia entertained some form of diplomatic relations with Calormen. We first learn of the empire in Prince Caspian, when King Peter, standing among the ancient ruins of Cair Paravel, finally recognizes the apple trees that were planted just before a visit by Calmarine ambassadors. "Don't you remember?" he said, speaking to his siblings. "It was the very day before the ambassadors came from the King of Calormen. Don't you remember planting the orchard outside the north gate of Cair Paravel? The greatest of all wood people, Pomona herself, came to put good spells on it. It was those very decent little chaps, the moles, who did the actual digging. Can you have forgotten that funny old Lillygroves, the chief mole, leaning on his spade and saying, 'Believe me, your majesty, you'll be glad of these fruits one day'? And by Jove, he was right." However friendly the Calormen ambassadors seemed on that day, Calormen would soon be seen for what it really was: a dark scourge on the world of Narnia. It was the land of slave traders, thieves, tyrants, and conquerors. After completely conquering the lands of the south, it would eventually set its sights northward, first on Archenland, and then on Narnia itself. And from then on, Calormen would remain Narnia's dark and foreboding enemy, even until the great and final battle and the end of Narnia. Well, that does it for today's tour, but we've still got many more worlds to explore, from the lands beyond the western woods to the mysterious waters at the edge of the world and everywhere in between. If you want to join us for our next trip into the wardrobe, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up and leave a comment below. Let us know what your favorite destination is in the Land of Narnia or in worlds beyond. Be sure to join us next time as we take another journey into the wardrobe.